So last day we finished off with modeling the boom here, and we inserted some braces and got it all assembled. So we've got this part that we can add together later on, and some nice pieces fit in here so that when we cut them out on the laser cutter, they'll all basically snap together, and then we can just glue them up with some quick setting glue. And we took a look at how under inspect you can come into a component color cycling toggle, and we can put it all together like that. Now, I know you're not required to truss this up, but of course, I've seen what you guys can do with trusses and it looks really nice. So if you wanted to, you could come in here, and what I did was I started by adding some sketches here, and you can see I've got more things in my timeline. So I've already gone and done this, and I've dialed the timeline back right in here. So I can go through here and I can go step by step by step and take a look at where I put those sketches in. And I'm just trying to find the first place where I started sketching right here. And there we go. I was sketching right up on the top right here. So I came in and created a sketch here on the top. Looks like there's a couple sketches in there for some reason, and created a sketch on there. And what I did was I used a lot of projects to project information in here, and then offsets, and then I used some construction lines to come right across here. And then I turned off my construction line, so I was back to drawing object lines. And then I did an offset on the construction lines to get nicely spaced pieces right across there. Now, as you'll know, we did a lot of our work parametrically at the beginning, and I'm not really worrying about constraints or anything like that right now. So this is horrifically non-parametric, and we're kind of stuck with what we've got by the time we get to these dimensions, which is why we did all the design work parametrically. So anyways, then I went on through here, and like I say, this is an optional extra. If you'd like to do it, I took out those pieces right there. I extruded that all the way through, took out some material down here at the bottom, took out some material on that green piece right in there, and then I came in and took away material on the sides right in here. So I ended up with a trussed out arm, or boom, sorry. And what I found was that trussed boom, before I started removing the weight, it had a mass of 81.7 grams. And to find that out, you come in here and you come in here and tell it you want physical material, and you go to the wood library, assign MDF to your project right there, and then you can come in here and write. Oh, just a minute. We're done assigning the material. Let's close that. And once you've assigned a material to something, you can come in here and you can take a look at the properties. Properties is in here somewhere. Properties, right there, I knew it was. And over in your properties, you can see it gives you a mass of 45 grams. So I took it down from a mass of not basically 90 grams beforehand to a mass of 45 grams afterwards. I cut away 50% of the material and thus got rid of 50% of the weight, which means that we could have less load in our syringes. And just sort of looking at it, I haven't run an analysis on it. Of course, Fusion 360 can run an analysis on the structure and tell me if it's going to be strong enough. But just based on our experience building trusses with medium density fiberboard, I think we're going to be fine. Now, the next thing that I asked you to do was to take that and go and build the arm portion. So again, to make the arm portion, you kind of start out like we did for making the boom portion. You come in right here, you identify this piece right here, and you can see that's in light green when you've got that turned on. So we've called that arm right there. You can come over to your arm in your browser. You can right click and save a copy of that as, and you can give it a new file name. And that's exactly what I did. It came out as arm and linkage to arm, and I added the words for 3mm MDF. Now, of course, it didn't look like this when I started. What it looked like, and again, this is the beauty of the timeline, I can drag the timeline all the way back to the very beginning of my project right here, and it didn't look like that either. Let's fit that onto the screen. It's probably just thinking that all out. Where did it go? Maybe I need to come one step in. There we go. That's what it looked like when we came in right here. Oh, now it's playing it all for me. I didn't mean to hit play. There's some cool features that you've got in here. By hitting play, I'm going through and I'm doing it one step after the other. Here we are right now. So these are the two steps that got imported from our original profile because we'd already drawn the profile and we did a 3mm extrude to it to make it out of MDF. And then I come in here and I drew a sketch right up here. And in just a moment, you'll see I then extruded that sketch out, cut it away, and used that sketch to create a new sketch plane right on that surface. And then gave it some dimensions, a couple of millimeters here. I wasn't really concerned about the dimensions so long as I left enough room up here for this syringe to be able to pivot freely and this syringe down here to be able to pivot freely. Then I came through here, cut away a couple pieces down at the bottom, and then again use the new surface as a new sketch plane to create a piece that fit right in there. I used a couple of tabs in here. If you just wanted to use one tab, you'd probably be fine with that. It just seemed like such a long surface that it was begging for more than one tab. And where did I go to next along here? Right in here. So then I came in here and first of all, I created a sketch right here. And then when I did my extrude, I extruded it up to the top side right here. And it was important that I went to the top side and all the way through because, of course, when you look at it this way, you can see that your little piece of MDF that comes up right here is going to have to come up all the way through right here because this edge is just a little bit higher up than that edge because this is at a slant relative to here. You'll see that as we go through and we put that in, we just make sure that our piece is tall enough to go all the way through. So I went through and I drew this piece in right here. And again, I made sure that the top side came up to right here so that it would come out over here. And we've got a little bump on the surface. If you'd come up to right here, you would have had a little notch on the surface. You still would have had plenty of surface for a good glue joint. Here you've got 3 sides you can put a glue joint on. 4 sides, I guess. Probably doesn't make any difference in your structure whatsoever if you're not 100% set up the same way that I am. Then I came in here and just kept going along and added a slot down here and put a piece in right there. And then I came over to this side, knocked out a little hole right there, and did an extrude right through that hole so that that piece would reach all the way through. And while I'm doing those extrudes, I'm just making sure that they're all being in the right component. That's where having the color component cycling turned on can really help you make sure that they're coming into the right parts. So there we go. Oh, I'd forgotten originally in here to come up and let me just go back one step. I hadn't turned this into a component. It was still existing as body 6. So I had to come up, right click on here, and I had to create a component from body. That command right there. I should have done that right back at the very beginning when I brought it in. I forgot to. Thankfully, I was able to get in here and sneak in and do it right now, and it didn't have any problems. Right, so the next step was to mirror everything. And so I used the mirror components command. So when you go to do your mirror, where are we right here? That was a create mirror. Again, you've got to tell it in here that you want to mirror components. Otherwise, you might just get faces being mirrored. So that's a step to watch out for. And then I came through here and started joining those components together so that they'd be individual components. Then I came in and started drawing some sketches on them. And again, using offset and project. So I'd project the geometry right here. Then I'd offset that projected geometry and I'd go through and I'd use construction lines to create this geometry right here. Remember that you can't carve away those slots that you just spent time making for your joints. Again, trussing this up is entirely optional. Your arm should work just fine without it, but it does give it a kind of cool look to have it trussed all the way through. And so that's where I am right now. I've got an arm and a boom ready to go together. Keep in mind as you're doing this, and let me again stress how important this is, that you use your inspect, and on the inside of your boom, you measure that distance. And the inside of the boom is 44 millimeters. And that's really important when you come over to your arm end linkage that's going to fit inside there, that you do an inspect, you do your measure, and that you measure from the outside to the outside, and that distance outside to outside should be 44 millimeters so that you can tuck that inside. If you mess it up, it's possible, I guess, that you could just offset it a little bit so one side of the boom was here and one side of the boom was on the inside right there, but it won't be nearly as pretty and symmetrical. Okay, so there we go. That's my quick, and I honestly mean quick this time, little answer key for how to create the arm piece, and if you want, a few tips on how to go about trussing it all out so that it comes out looking pretty good. In the next step, we'll build the base, and we'll link these together, and we'll pop a syringe into it.